welcome to the Boys Crypto Show. In the event that this camera fails me, baby, dive on in the chat and let me know. So far, it looks really good. What's going on, everybody? Welcome. Thank you for being here on your Tuesday. Wow, it's a Monday night, baby. On this Monday night, the bounce for crypto going immaculately right now. What happened? Where are we going? Where are we likely to go this upcoming week? Is there more gains to come, or is there more carnage to come in the market to the downside? That's what we're going to explore today. Before we get started, shout out to each and every single one of you in the chat. Wanda, Reviews, April, Christoph, DN, thank you. Turn your mic up louder. Yeah, man, I got you. Let's see. We got mic coming up louder. Let me know, man. Let me know. Yeah, there we go. Mic up louder, baby. Mic up louder. That's what we got. We are on the bubbles, baby. Let's give a warm welcome to Altcoin back into the top 100. Didn't think we'd see it. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't think this coin would come climbing from the depths, but here it is in the top 100, glaring as the biggest green bubble in Boys Crypto's face, just trolling us, baby. Trolling us. Altcoin, welcome back, baby. Welcome back. The biggest loser of the day, ZEC, not coming back up to par with a lot of these other altcoins, getting the bounce off the bottom. Man, it looks good for crypto for a potential bottom here. Out of that news coming today, the EU making a deal with the United States, 0 for 0 tariffs, baby. Exactly what Donald Trump wanted. And you know, we got one of the biggest bounces we've seen in a hot minute for cryptos. From the bottom to the top, we got about an 8% move for crypto, from about 74,000 up over $80,000 as of right now. And it looks like we're continuing to climb here. Now, as we have seen before, we don't want to see a 618, 786 rejection from this swing high to swing low. Here we are coming up. We got a 706 rejection earlier, and the bulls stepped in, baby. The 21 starting to curve, and we're coming back up for that 1 hour 200 SMA. It looks good here in the near term for BTC. Voice is still quiet. Hold up. Woo! Hold up here. Voice is still quiet. Whoop. Can you hear me at all? Oh, I got you. Test. How's that? Let's see. All right. We'll try it now. I could go louder. I could go up here. I could go up louder. That's strange. I haven't messed with the audio settings or anything. Can you hear me fine, April? Okay. Guys, let me know what you guys are thinking. Okay, cool. We got the mic going. We got everything. I know this is kind of crazy. It's still a new setup. Everybody, we're still working on it. But man, I am glad to be in the charts with each and every single one of you tonight. Let's look at Bitcoin here on the daily, baby. On the daily, we're still beneath that 200 SMA here, and we are forming another set of bullish divergence here on the daily. It did not work out last time. This was the bullish divergence we were tracking here on the daily for BTC. We had that swing up in price action while we had that, or swing down in price action while we had that swing up on the RSI, baby, suggesting that we were going to crack 95,000 before we cracked this low right here. That bullish divergence did not come to fruition, and that was a super bearish sign. But here we are, the bulls giving it another attempt, baby. The bulls stepping in. Here we are, another set of daily bullish divergence rearing in our face as we have a swing across on price action while we have this slight swing up on the RSI indicator. This is bullish divergence, no matter how slight it is, suggesting that we're going to crack 88 before we crack this $74,000 level. Is that going to come to fruition? Let's hope so, man. It really does matter with this macroeconomic environment right here. We have a very clear downward sloping resistance channel that is forming here for BTC on the charts. We have not been able to crack this, and you can say here we only have 2 touch points, but this is a symmetrical triangle. These do like to dump to the downside. I hate to say it, and that's not what we want to see for BTC. However, we do have measured moves to the upside in the event that we do crack this downward sloping resistance line. I would love to see that. How many times can this resistance line get hit? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How many times can it get hit before we get that monumental move to the upside that everybody is waiting for? This 200-day SMA is going to get further and further and further away from us the longer we trade sideways, baby. This is going to trend upwards and slowly curve down the average of the past 200 days of price action. So these, even though we get some steep drops day to day, it is not going to matter that 200 SMA. This line is going to move very, very slowly. As you see, it's been curving up since all the way back here in January of 23. It's very rare that this starts curving and going the other direction. When that starts happening, a very good / very bad sign. We do not want to see this taper off and go flat. That is very, very important for the bulls here in the near term. BTC, baby, BTC looking for a break out of this symmetrical triangle here to either the upside or the downside. These do like to dump, baby. They like to dump. I've just seen it a lot. They like to dump. I don't want to see us come down here to this $65,000 level, but it really does matter on the macroeconomics of it all. What's going to happen with these tariffs, the trade war, and everything in between, baby. Everything in between. Let's look at the U.S. economic calendar and see what else we got coming up this week that could potentially move the market one way or the other. We are currently at Monday, baby. Monday, we're going to dive on in. Let's see what we got here. Nothing burger tomorrow. Wednesday, wholesale inventories, not much to me. Initial jobless claims, always a market mover on Thursday, baby. And it's kind of crazy as these companies struggle in the S&P 500. Are they going to start laying off people? It could happen. It could happen. If that starts happening, baby, if that starts happening, we could start seeing negative numbers here that may push Jerome Powell to make even further rate cuts. We'll see. The Fed did have what I saw was potentially I saw a 50-50. Some people were calling it an emergency rate cut meeting today. There was a closed door meeting, but they don't know if it was scheduled or whether it was scheduled for the Fed or whether it was an emergency rate cut meeting. I don't know. We'll have to see what comes out of that. We do have CPI coming in. That's going to be a market mover. So Thursday looks like a pretty volatile day when it comes to the morning when you have 2 economic events or economic news periods come out at the same time with the initial jobless claims and core CPI. This is the measure of inflation with the exception of food and energy throughout the country. These are going to be big market movers on Thursday and Friday, baby. Friday, we do not have anything. We have core PPI, the same thing from the perspective of the sellers, the cost of inflation without food, energy and food with the perspective of the seller and how much it costs to produce each individual good based on the companies that they analyze. So that's what we're looking at. Thursday and Friday going to be the bigger days of this week, baby. The bigger days of this week. Thank you each and every single one of you for diving on in with me today. Let's dive on into the chat. See what you guys are saying. How are you guys feeling? Bullish? Bearish? Are you scared? Are you not scared? Oh, you were scared, as the crypto lifer was saying. All right, yeah, we got the mic issue figured out. Heck yeah, everybody. What's going on? Wanda, Michaela, reviews. How you guys doing? Be careful what comes next. If the Bitcoin moves up, reviews maybe come down and will trap some people in a position. That's true. The market makers could just be playing their game. Do they know something that we don't? We do not know. Bitcoin dominance has a rejection. Seems good for the altcoins. Kind of hopium. We'll dive into the Bitcoin dominance. We'll talk about that, Christoph. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. Yeah, we're sitting higher than 75K. Let's dive into Bitcoin dominance. I would love to take a look at that. I haven't taken a peek at that today, actually. Let's dive on into that. Trading view, baby. Trading view. Let's dive on into Bitcoin dominance, BTC.dominance. Let's dive on in Bitcoin dominance. Maybe potentially getting a little bit of a double top-a-rooney here. To me, too early to say, but we are in that golden pocket, 618, 786 retrace of the inverted cup and handle that we've been looking at on this channel since essentially the inception of the channel, baby. This inverted cup and handle. Let's see if this holds, baby. Let's see if this holds. If this holds out, this inverted cup and handle, it's likely to break to the downside from the 618, 786 bearish retracement. We still have have that bearish divergence here on the weekly, holding ever so slightly here as we have a swing up in price action while we have that swing down on the RSI indicator, though the convergent line is broken, where if you extend this, it is broken. That's okay. It's saying that this wick will not be broken before this wick, and we are still in the realm of possibility that can hold true, This reverses to the downside. You could see the beginning of alt season right here, especially if this trade war starts to clear up. This common handle pulls out to the downside, and you're going to have Bitcoin dominance sitting lower than it ever has been. And I don't see anybody else talking about that, but we have to acknowledge that it is a real possibility from anyone who trades common handles. You flip this upside down, baby. Would you not long this 10 ways to Sunday? This cup handle 618, 786 retracement with the gap in the VRVP and bullish divergence, right? Inverted, so it'd be bullish divergence on the smaller time frames. I like that, baby. I like that. It looks very, very good for a reversal for Bitcoin dominance here, and it would catch everybody with their pants down that the altcoin season may just be around the corner, and I don't want to shed hopium. It's all going to depend on this guy here, right here, BTC. We don't need Bitcoin to pump for alt season to begin. We just need Bitcoin to not dump. We need Bitcoin to trade sideways and money start to flow into the altcoins as people build their trust again in these assets that have been absolutely beaten to the floor. Despite the green on the day, this week has been absolute carnage for the altcoins. Double-digit losses on some of the hottest projects in the game, and a lot of them have just been struggling massively throughout this month. Farcoin up 140%. That's like the only gainer in here. This is absolutely crazy. EOS doing okay. EOS doing okay. But yeah, some of the hottest projects in the game are just down in the dumps. 50% corrections on some of these things. XRP even struggling here, still below $2. That's wild to see for XRP. Cardano in the below 60 cents again. I didn't think we'd see that. Not after the strategic reserve announcement, but the markets are clearly saying that, hey, the markets are saying that, according to Bitcoin dominance right now, Bitcoin's the king. Bitcoin's the king, baby, and everything's going to follow Bitcoin no matter what altcoin you have, no matter what fundamentals there are. Like it's just a reality right now. Everything's likely to follow Bitcoin. All right, diving on in, baby. King Kong ain't nothing to Bitcoin. Is that a coin reviews? King Kong? King Kong, baby. King Kong. No, I'm not seeing that here on TradeView, brother. All right. Wanda wants to look at XRP. Let's dive into XRP. I'd love to look at that for you, Wanda. A lot of people wondering about XRP. A lot of the XRP army. Actually, I've been seeing some, I've got some direct messages on Twitter saying, hey, what's happening to my favorite altcoin? What's going on? I don't understand. This is the new financial revolution, and it could be. It could be tomorrow or yesterday. XRP falling to $1.60, getting a nice bounce off the bottom of about 20%, still holding that daily 200 SMA barely. Still holding that 200 SMA barely on the daily. I have to be bullish above the daily 200 SMA, but this does not look good. This does not look good. You fell beneath a key area of support and you closed a major daily candle. You are sitting on your last line of defense. We talked about this on the channel for XRP. You're going to you start breaking this support zone, right? You're going to have, you have very little volume here to support you. The volume shelf on the way down is practically non-existent, and you can see why. Look back here. We've had days we have no price history. We have in some instances, an hour of price history at some of these price levels, as the run-up before on XRP was equally as violent back here in 2017, and you have nothing. Zero, none, zilp, zitch, nada on the VRVP, saying that we don't know if there's actual buy orders in at these levels. We know that there's likely buy orders left over down here in this $1.40 range. And yes, XRP did stop here at $1.60 and got the reversal to the upside. I don't like what we're seeing below this key area of support that was broken. You've touched it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, fell beneath it on the daily, did get a little bit of a retest here to the dollar of that support line, got rejected, and here we are sitting between that key support resistance flip and the 200 MA. This is your line in the sand for XRP. If the XRP bulls, if the XRP army is going to step in here, now is the time. You lose this daily 200 SMA and you're likely to take a quick trip down here to $1.47. If you close a daily candle beneath this 200 MA, it could spell massive danger for XRP here in the near term. And then you have the only support that I see beneath this is $1.47, $1.12, and then all the way down here back from once it started at 55 cents. Can that happen? Yes, this is crypto and it's happened before for XRP. So don't be surprised if it happens again. I get it. I get the hopium in the space. I get that their narrative is the new financial revolution. I understand, and I'm not hating on XRP, but this is one of the, I will say it, the weakest charts in the game right now. Why is it the weakest chart in the game? Well, because it's had this massive run up and it could play catch up to the downside here. It could definitely play catch up to the downside. If I was looking for a long here, I would wait for a crack of the daily 200 SMA. We're sitting above the high volume node that sits here at about $2.41, a key area that I've been tracking here in the charts as we've been talking about that area. Every single time we look at XRP, that high volume node, the bears did win. The bears won. There were more sellers here at $2.41 than buyers, and that shoved the price down. So there's likely sell orders up here at that $2.41 level. The reason I'm saying it's the weakest chart in the game right now is because there's no evidence that it's not. The gaps in the VRVP here, the downside risk of this token outshines any downside risk that I'm seeing, with the exception of the meme coins in the game right now. In the game. Ah, the camera. Come on, camera. Be nice to me, baby. What are we doing? Good night. I may have to run out and get a new camera tomorrow from my Best Buy friend that sold me this computer. Good night. Okay, there we go. We got the camera reset, baby. We are on it. We are on it. I appreciate you, April, for calling that out. Yeah, so we are hovering above the daily 200 SMA. And you're on the line. Look at this high volume node that you're sitting on right now. You lose this, and you could see yesterday what happened, how you had that colossal drop for XRP down in the 160s. That is something similar to what you would see if Bitcoin loses its footing here again, or you start closing candles beneath the daily 200 SMA. Very, very, very interesting time for XRP, and I hope XRP does well. I really do hope XRP does well. But as far as averaging in, I would be very cautious at this level at averaging in. If your plan is to average into XRP as you come down the better prices, to me, now's not the time. What would a good trade plan or a DCA plan be for XRP? Well, you get above this level, this support resistance flip level again, and you come back down to support, retest that. That would be the area to get in for me. That's what I would be looking at. I would not be getting into positions here when you're sitting beneath the key macro support resistance flip here. That's dangerous to me because the odds of coming down to $1.47 and $1.12 are heightened and are higher than they have been since this range has started, since after the election. And you know, a lot of these coins that have had these really heavy runs, to me, XRP is kind of mimicking, it looks to me, HBAR is kind of mimicking what XRP is likely to do. Why? Because they ran up in tandem. They ran them in tandem to the same area. HBAR, we were speculating on the 618, 786 bounce. The 786 did get front ran here for HBAR getting that bounce here. And this was the same run as XRP. It looked the exact same. XRP held the line and it fell. If it fall, this is where XRP is right now to me, right here, above the daily 200 SMA. I was bullish for HBAR above the daily 200 SMA, saying that this is an area of a likely bounce to 618. You did get a reaction, but you start closing candles beneath the daily 200 SMA, and you're likely to go on a trip to the downside, baby. That was a 34% drop for HBAR since you fell beneath that daily 200 SMA. That would look exactly like XRP if the XRP did fall beneath the daily 200 SMA. Just something to keep on your radar, Wanda. Something to keep on your radar. XRP, baby. XRP was once, to me, the strongest coin in the game and was the strongest coin in the game for the last few months. However, right now I see this as one of the most dangerous coins to be averaging into at this point in the game. If the altcoins turn around, I don't see XRP making a monumental run to the upside, breaking above this high volume. I just don't see it happening. The amount of money that would need to come into this space is astronomical compared to what a lot of these altcoins have already lost. I see XRP being an underperformer here in the coming weeks as Bitcoin dominance potentially beginning to roll over. I don't think XRP is going to be a winner here. I really don't. I think it's going to hold. I think it's going to do okay. But I think as far as like DCA opportunities, I think there are better coins in the game out there. I think Render, Sui, I think things of that nature, I think are going to do a lot better than XRP. I think Chainlink's at a really good price right now, $11.82 for Chainlink. That's crazy. Cardano, I think these are the coins that are at better prices than XRP right now. XRP still overextended from when You could argue that XRP is overextended since back here. You've had no consolidation. These areas have not been tested for XRP. $1.25 up here and $1. Yeah, it's just not where I'd be placing my money right now, and that's just me being honest with you guys. All right, that's what I'm looking at for XRP, baby. That's what I'm looking at for XRP. Diving on into the chat. What else do you guys want to look at? King Kong. I couldn't see King Kong on there. XRP. That's what I'm looking at, baby. That's what I'm looking at. Reviews wants to look at Plume. Plume, baby. Yeah, absolutely. Let's dive on into Plume. I will pull this up for you, man. I appreciate you guys diving on into the chat, dropping your coins. It really helps me out. I appreciate it. It helps the stream flow, baby. Helps the stream flow. All right, let's dive on into Plume here. Looking at it on the daily, not a lot of price history. Not on the perpetual contracts on Bybit anyway. Do we have any more price history here for Plume? Let's look at it on Binance. Yeah, not a lot. Not a lot. So we're going to dive into the smaller time frames to see what we could denote here on Plume. Plume on the perpetuals on Bybit. Going into this, let's dive into the... Oh, my uvula got really dry right there. All right. Let's dive into the 15-minute here. That's what I want to look at. So your 15-minute 200 SMA, you're coming up, you're playing 200 MA dominoes. I will tell you that. You get above the 1, you get above the 3. You get above the 3, you're going to test a 5. You get above the 5, you're going to test a 7. You get above the 7, you're going to test a 15. And here we are for Plume, getting that golden cross here with a 21 cross and the 200. My definition of the golden cross, baby, the 21 cross and the 200. It foreshadows golden crosses coming on the macro time frame. Looks very, very good to me here on the 15-minute time frame. Okay. Here we go. You're battling with the 15-minute 200 SMA, and you're above the high volume node. That looks very, very good here for Plume, baby. Let's zoom on out here and get an updated VRVP. Yeah, from this range right here. That's what I want to see. All right, so Plume, you're currently gapping up above this high volume node, sitting at about 1469. That looks very, very good. Your odds of coming up here and testing 17 cents look relatively high, especially since you're consolidating above that 15-minute 200 MA. Looks very, very good here for Plume. There may be a little bit of a flaggeroonie that kind of forms out here on the charts here in the near term. That's what I'd be looking at for Plume, baby. That's what I'd be looking at for Plume, seeing if this kind of flag can get you out of this carnage here, out of this carnage for a lot of these altcoins, man. We need some reversals here to the upside. I'd wait for that 15-minute 200 MA to hold, man. That 15-minute 200 MA is likely going to tell you where Plume's going to head throughout the night, baby. Throughout the night. Looks okay to me. I would give it a little bit more price action here. You could even get that cup and handle going, man. You could even get that cup. You get that cup. And you get that sideways going handle. That does look likely to me as well. That can definitely happen. And, you know, that cup and handle does look relatively good. You could come down to the 618, 786 for a bounce. These are the trade ideas that I'd be looking at going into the night. I'm staying away from leverage right now, everybody. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have to stay away from leverage right now. The environment that we're in with this trade war is not conducive to leverage trading, and I'm staying away. I'm staying away from leverage trading, baby. I'm going to get back into leverage trading whenever this trade war does play out. I can't be subject to the news each and every single day with a new tariff announced. Now the tariff's canceled. Now the EU made a deal, and you're just getting whipsaw price action. It's just tearing leverage traders up left and right. The exchanges are making a butt ton of money. They're not getting my money, baby. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I know when it's a good time to trade and when it's not. And right now, this environment is not conducive to leverage trading, in my opinion. Now, on the smaller time frames, absolutely go for it. But I'm taking a second. I'm waiting for the macroeconomics to kind of filter out here so I can determine my bias of long and short. And I can't tell you right now whether I'm long or short on BTC. I do like the idea of a bounce coming from here. Do I think we could go lower? Yes. So that wishy-washy sideways, I'm not entirely sure. Makes it really tough for me to put my capital on the line and say, yeah, let's leverage and let's go long, or let's leverage and let's go short. The odds are in my favor. I don't have odds with me right now, and I'm not a gambler, baby. I'm lying. I'm a gambler when it goes to Vegas. I'll go and gamble in Vegas, but I'm not gambling in the charts, baby. I'm not doing that. I don't need to feel pressured or a need to trade. That is true. So we did come up in this golden pocket. We are getting a little bit of a rejection right here. Yeah, it's getting tight here for Plume reviews. It's getting really tight, man. So I would watch this here on the 15-minute time frame. See if this 15-minute 200 SMA can hold. Stochastics are looking okay. You're beneath the 50 mark. The RSI sitting at 50. It's looking all right, man. That's what I would look at here. That's what I would look at here going into the night. You do have a little bit of hidden bullish divergence here as well on the 15-minute. You do have this massive swing up in price action. That swing up in price action while you have this swing across on the RSI. RSI resets while you're making a higher low. It does look pretty good for Plume here. Biasly, I think this is going to the upside. I think it looks really, really good getting above that 15-minute 200 MA, but I'd wait for the flag to play out, man. That 15-minute bullish divergence does suggest that you're going to crack this high here before you crack this low. It looks okay. It looks okay to me, man. Plume, keep Plume on your radar. It looks really, really good. Thanks, reviews. I appreciate you dropping that in the chat, baby. I appreciate you dropping that on in the chat. Let's dive on in. Let's dive on in. Camera's frozen. April, okay, we got that figured out. Thank you, my lady. I appreciate you, my lady. I don't know why I said that, but yeah. What's up, girl? How you doing? Yeah, but let's dive on over into the bubbles. Let's look at the biggest winner and loser here on the daily, baby. On the daily, let's dive on over into Fartcoin. Everybody knows how I feel about Fartcoin. Fartcoin, the new Bitcoin, going to the moon, everybody. Fartcoin, when your kids ask you, Father, how did we get so rich? How are we eating steak and lobster every single night? How are we doing this, Dad? How are we doing it? I don't understand. What did you do? Well, son, I invested in Fartcoin. When everybody thought Fartcoin wasn't the new Bitcoin, I saw the potential in Fartcoin. I knew that Fartcoin was going to be the future. I knew Fartcoin was going to come from the depths and scream to the upside when nobody expected it. Even though it is based off of absolutely nothing, it is definitely going to be the new global financial. I'm just kidding. I do not believe in Fartcoin, but it just, I struggle to conceptually understand what people are thinking when they're putting boatloads of money in these meme coins. I struggle with it. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's just my perspective. All right, so you got that shoulder, head, right shoulder rearing for Fartcoin. Looking pretty good here on the charts, on the daily. Looking for a reversal for Fartcoin, showing relative strength in the past 2 days. Look at that yesterday with Bitcoin on the dumpage, and Fartcoin said, I do not care, baby. I do not care. Going on a 44% pump to the upside for Fartcoin. Looking to continue here. Let's zoom on out, and there's not a ton of price history here. Going back to about December of 2024, on Binance. But yeah, this just looks good for a continuation here to the upside. You're above a lot of the high volume nodes. A squeeze to the upside does seem relatively likely here for Fartcoin. I'd be careful at your 618, 786 going from this reaction right here to the swing high to the swing low. So that would bring you up into your golden pocket. I think there's a likely squeeze here coming for Fartcoin. That squeeze would be relatively massive. I'm not going to lie to you guys. This would be a massive move for Fartcoin, up about 72%. Looking for a move, baby, on Fartcoin to the upside, to this $1 region. Looks really, really good here for Fartcoin here in the near term. And if you guys think that these assets can't move, they can. I am biased towards meme coins. I'm not going to lie to you guys, but when I'm looking at the charts, I don't need to see the name to know that a short squeeze is likely here for Fartcoin. Do I think Fartcoin's going back to the highs? No, I don't think any of these meme coins are going back to the highs. Maybe the new ones that pop out are going to make new all-time highs and everything, and that's going to get the new hopium and stuff. But eventually, people will drift away from Fartcoin like they're drifting away from Trump coin. Trump coin continually getting smacked down here to the depths with Trump coin 2-0, baby. That's Boys Crypto's call. Give it 4 years. 4 years time. 4 years time. This goes to 0. Will not be the president again. He will. This coin's not going to last, everybody. What a sad, what a slap in the face to the crypto industry. But yeah, this marked the top right here, baby. Right here, back here on what, January 25th? Yeah, his release marked the top for Bitcoin, baby. What a disaster to the downside, to the depths with Trump coin. Do I think that Trump coin doesn't have a chance of a rebound? No, I think there definitely is. There's definitely squeeze potential. Look at this gap in the VRVV. The squeeze potential to the upside is massive for Trump coin. But overall, putting money in these memes, this financial product designed to benefit the president of the United States. He used the office to make billions of dollars overnight, more money than any other president has made in the history of our country. Every president before Trump combined, baby, made more money in 48 hours with this coin. What a shill to the American public. $800 million lost by the American people, right, that were not a part of this insider trading scheme. Same thing with Melania. I just want to go over this really quick because I love ranting about memes and I know, I know you guys love when I rant about memes too. Oh my gosh, my camera, I'm frozen, baby. I'm back. I gotta get a new camera. I promise I will be with you guys. I'm right here. Woo! Yeah, that's what I'm looking at here for Trump coin disaster. Melania. Oh my gosh, Melania, she's doing such good things to the depths. 55 cents from an all-time. Look at this. This is a rug pull. If anybody, can anybody show me what a rug pull looks like? I would just pull up Melania coin. Hey, what's a rug pull in crypto? Hey, do you ever see Melania coin? The coin that the first lady promoted? Yeah, that's what a rug pull is. Let's look at Libra. I just want to go over this to show you what happens to all meme coins, baby, at the end of the day. Look at that. Libra, promoted by the president of Argentina, and then he deletes his tweet. Whoop! To the downside, to the depths, baby. What are some other fun ones? Peanut. Let's look at Peanut. Peanut the squirrel. Peanut the squirrel. Oh my gosh, everybody loves Peanut the squirrel. Look at this. This rug pull, boom, inside. All meme coins are a way for people to make a quick buck. For those who are on the inside, yes, there's going to be ways that people make money, and there's people who made money on Trump coin, but 99% of people got absolutely wrecked. So just be careful whenever you're putting your money in meme coins, baby. It should be, in my opinion, one of the smallest portions of your portfolio that you have. Every once in a while, I'll throw $10, $20 into a meme. Sure, absolutely, that's fun. But the odds, I don't expect to see those $10, $20 again. I promise you. That's what I look at when it comes to me. Man, every single one of you get this, and then the boop to the downside. You don't see many that aren't like this. I mean, you know, some of the OG memes, Dogecoin looking at, you know, we speculated on along here. That got absolutely wrecked. Let's see. Going out here on the, yeah, this was the Elon pump of 2021. Remember that? And then he well, that was crazy. It was kind of smart by him to go on that move to promote that coin, because it forced the SEC to categorize these things as the same way as they categorize stocks, where you can't manipulate them. Kind of crazy. All right, diving on into the chat. I'm done with my meme rant. I promise you guys. We went into Plume. Let's dive on in. I got to reset the chat here, everybody. I got to reset the chat. We got the phone here. I'm diving on in. I promise you guys, I'm with you. Let's dive on in. Thank you, each and every single one of you guys for being here in the chat, baby. All right, let's check ETH. Yeah, I do not live for Farcoin April. Get out of here, Sid Nasty Kid. Welcome. I'm glad you're here, man. I'm glad you're here. All right, let's start with the top. Let's start with April. Once gold going on a run, and the other day getting a little bit of a pullback since that bounce out of the EU news. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, we're seeing a little bit of a pullback. Gold coming down here. Gold coming down over the last couple of days, which is surprising because I feel like uncertainty is rising. And, you know, yesterday we got that clarity from the EU, forced a further dump to the downside. Still trading just under $3,000 an ounce. It looks good to the upside, April. It really does. Gold's been on this massive tear to the upside that does not look like it's going to stop anytime soon. You want to hold this 4-hour 200 SMA. It served you as support once, almost twice, 3 times. You're getting above, and you're closing above the 4-hour 200 SMA. You start closing below the 4-hour, you can play 200 MA dominoes to the downside. But because gold has been such a large price history, this 200 MA is likely going to hug price action on even the higher time frames, because gold has just maintained its purchasing power comparatively to the dollar, and just now about to cross $3,000 again for gold. Looks good to the upside, April. The RSI is reset, the stochastics are reset. It looks good. So what would I do here? I would pull a fib from the swing low to the swing high, the initial reaction at the 200 MA. You came down here, got a perfect 618 bounce to the upside, got back above that 4-hour 200 SMA, looking for continuation to the upside. You're playing 200 MA dominoes to the upside, just like all the cryptos are right now. Let's see what we're looking at. You just got above the 5. So yeah, lagging a little bit behind crypto, and you know, you're above the 5, you got rejected at the 7. So that's currently where you are in the 200 MA domino scheme, April. That's what we're looking at for gold as the S&P and the NASDAQ recover. If that was the bottom, gold is going to suffer in the near term. Why? Because certainty will be restored to the market. Clarity comes throughout the tariffs. The trade war ends and gold will start to slump. Why? Because people want to go back risk on, vice risk off. Gold, historically a risk off asset, something that is performed well throughout the course of time, but has not necessarily outperformed the more risk-on assets. So people are going to dive from gold back in the risk-on assets in the event that the market does pick up again. That's what I'm looking at for gold. But as a hedge against uncertainty, baby, always good to have a little bit of gold. Always good to have a little bit of gold, a little bit of silver. I have a little silver coin right here, 1923 silver dollar here. I keep at my desk. I like holding this here. Yeah, it's cool to be able to hold it. You can't hold your Bitcoin. I could hold my ledger. I could hold my ledger, baby. I could hold my ledger, but I'll never hold a Bitcoin. You can't do it, man. It's code. But I can hold my silver, and it's very nice. It's very nice to be able to do that. It's very nice to be able to own gold. I have gold in my safe, man. It's nice. It's nice to be able to have that for certainty, because I could take that and I could go anywhere in the world and exchange it for currency, just like Bitcoin. And it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. All right, diving on into the chat. Thank you, each and every single one of you guys for being here. We went over gold for April. All right, diving on in. Gold ain't got nothing to fart coin, son. Yeah, reviews. I hear you, man. I hear you. Synastic Kid, welcome, brother. Welcome. Yeah, talk about the favorite meme coins, brother. I know. I tried to. I sat down with my lady and I was like, I'm trying to get away from the meme coin rants, and somehow I just go back into it every single day, baby. Every single day. All right, we're gonna look at ETH for reviews. Let's dive on into Ethereum. ETH, baby. ETH. We got it on the perpetuals. ETH getting a little bit of a bounce here. I did not. Yay. I thought the $1,600 level would hold. I thought this high volume node would have held, but it didn't. And now ETH back to the lows that you haven't seen since the end of 2023. Devastating for Ethereum. Trading beneath this high volume node that's sitting currently at about 1646. A likely area of resistance going back up. You need to reclaim this high volume node, flip it to support, and get. ETH looks weak. And we did this the other day. ETH looks weak, man. It does. I think if we have an altcoin season, I'm starting to get the feeling that ETH won't lead it. I don't think ETH will lead it. I think there will be something else. Let's go over into here. I just want to look at this real quick. We did pull this up yesterday. This is a snapshot of 2017, what coin market cap used to look like. And look at the top 10. It's very different than, 5 of the 10 coins in the top 10 here are no longer in the top 10. Some aren't even in the top 100. XEM, I don't even think that's in the top 100. IOTA's in the top 100. But man, these used to be some of the top ranked projects, baby. These used to be some of the top ranked projects. And now, look at these. Some of these, as you go down, you guys don't even know what these are. I don't even know what these are. Populous, Omission Go, Lisk, Zcash. I do remember seeing that. We went over that the other day. Waves, Stratus. Look at Tether down here. Tether was ranked 24. Wild. Hypercash, Bitcoin next. These were the top 30 coins, baby. So I am open-minded that Ethereum may not be the market leader here on the altcoin season, right? This top 10 is subject to change, as it has over the past 8 years or so. Is this the end for Ethereum? I don't think Ethereum's ever going to zero. I really don't. I think it's going to hold at least the top 100 spot over its life. But you can't argue with the charts here. We're zooming out on the weekly. This looks bad. This looks bad for Ethereum. You're falling beneath a key support resistance flip zone. Resistance, flip, support. And now you're falling beneath. You need to get back above this 1646 level, this high volume node, reclaim it as support and to move further to the upside. Your only shot is to start reclaiming these levels on the smaller time frame. You got above the 5. You got above the 7, you're coming into 15, you're not even at your 15-minute 200 MA yet, you're likely to test it. You got this giant gap in the VRVP here. Looks like it wants to get a squeeze to the upside, but man, Ethereum showing weakness in the charts here, and we have to speculate. There are a lot of projects that do things a little faster and a little cheaper than Ethereum. The gas fees are the killer of this project, and Vitalik Buterin and the team working on Ethereum don't seem to have any solution that fixes that problem. That, in combination with its infinity supply, baby, the infinity supply here, the Ethereum has an infinite supply right here. You have a circulating supply, total supply, and you have a max supply of infinity. There will be more Ethereum every single day going on forth into the future because there is not a capped supply. That remains true for Ethereum, baby. That remains true for Ethereum. So that's what we're looking at here. Ethereum looks weak, man. It's got to get above this high volume node at 1646, flip it to support in order to continue to the upside. But, you know, falling beneath this key level on the weekly, that's, you know, been in the chart since 2021 here. You know, support, fell down, resistance, support, resistance, got above, resistance, support, you know. You fell beneath, consolidated, got above, and boom to the upside. But man, you got to reclaim the 1646 level. Other than that, it's like you're in a clear downtrend for Ethereum, and you've been in a downtrend since this $4,179 top off here. You could say, "Oh, boys, crypto, we're in a falling channel. We're in a falling channel." Yeah, I mean, you could say that. You definitely could say that. But to me, there are stronger coins in the game, and let's face it. Let's face it here. Are you gonna 10x your money on Ethereum? Well, let's look at the market cap. The market cap is currently sitting at 191 billion. So to 10x, you'd have to get to a $2 trillion market cap. I think there's better bang for your buck out there in the game, baby. And I own Ethereum. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see Ethereum to the depths, baby. But it doesn't look like it's doing well, and I've been heavily considering switching my Ethereum position into something that I think could take over a little better in the future here as far as the altcoins go. And Ethereum doesn't look like it's the juice ain't worth the squeeze right now. You know, if you start breaking and you're coming down the dangerous levels, you break this level here at $1,000, you're going on price discovery to the downside. You know, to play with that $300 level. That doesn't look good for Ethereum. It definitely does not. And you can be like, wow, these are some of the best prices for Ethereum. You've been pinned on the stochastics for the last month on the weekly in the oversold region, showing no signs of strength. Even just recently getting that bend down again to the downside. Look at this. Over the weekly, that blue line when you get above on the blue line, that's good. The blue line curving further to the downside, looking to get pinned again on the weekly stochastics. Not a lot of the altcoins look like that, baby. Man, I worry for Ethereum, and Vitalik Buterin's got to come up with something smart, and he's got to do it quick. If he doesn't, this could be the end of his baby, his project. I got to be real there. I got to be real and acknowledge that. All right, that's what I'm looking at for Ethereum. You got to reclaim that 1646 level, man. Imperative Ethereum does that. All right, diving on into the chat. Thank you for the coin suggestions, everybody. VRA from MH. I appreciate you. Chills for Christoph. April said, yeah, absolutely. Sorry for missing you there, Christoph. I got you, brother. I got you. All right, VRA. Let's dive into VRA. VRA, baby. Crypto is life. That's what they say. Crypto is life. Football is life. You guys ever see Ted Lasso? That guy. Football is life. Love that show. All right, here we go. For VRA, you're definitely in a. Let's take a little peek-a-rooney here. Trying to get this perfect. There's not some clear consolidation on the way down on the weekly. Let's look at it on the daily. We see anything a little clearer. You are getting a little bit of a rounded bottom here. Like if you flip this upside down and you start getting this curvature, it may show signs of weakness in a trend. So this is weakness to the downside. And what would prove that? Any kind of daily bullish divergence that you have here. And you know, you did have daily bullish divergence. Let's pull this up here. Whoop. Come on, baby. RSI, work with me. Trading V, work with me, baby. All right, here we go. We had this swing up on the RSI indicator, and we had that back here. And it failed through, but you're still making a higher high here on the RSI indicator while you're making a lower high here on the daily for VRA. And I know absolutely nothing about this project, but what I do know is that daily bullish divergence suggests that you're likely to crack this high before you crack this low right here for VRA. Looks really good for a turnaround to the upside. With that being said, this bullish divergence that was right here on the chart did not work out. We have to acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge that. It did not work out last time, but a lot of the altcoins showing the same thing. We just looked at this on, I believe on BTC. BTC, we may have looked at that, but yeah, that double bullish divergence that you're showing right here, you're having that lower low, lower low, lower low with a higher low, higher low, higher low. Yeah, it could definitely get a reversal here for VRA to the upside. That would represent a nice little pumperoonie of about 75% for this project. I haven't heard of this one before. Is this even in the VRA ranked 906, baby, 906, very low market cap, so definitely more higher risk in the game here. Market cap sitting at about 10.8 million. If you're looking for a 10x or 100x, you got to look in this area, the 900 to 1000 on coin market cap. If you're looking for a 100x, this is where it's likely going to come from. This 800 to 900, 700 to 900. Why? Because the market caps support it. The market caps would allow for a 10, a 100x. Whereas if you get up into this 200, 300, in the top 100, very, very unlikely that you see that amount of money pour into anything, especially in the top. You're not going to see a 100x, not this cycle, out of the top 10. Absolutely not. You will not. Highly unlikely. The amount of money that would need to move anything in the top 10 to a 100x, almost unfathomable when it comes to the cryptocurrency market. That's what I'm looking at, baby. That's what I am looking at. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at, baby. We'll dive on in VRA, looking for a reversal to the upside out of this daily bullish divergence. Looks very, very good for VRA, baby. For VRA, for that squeeze to the upside. How's the 4-hour looking? You're looking to play 200 MA dominoes to the upside, just like Bitcoin and everything else. Kind of looks like Bitcoin. Bitcoin had that run up and now consolidation above the 15-minute 200 MA. Yeah, you broke the 15-minute where you're likely to go, the 30. You came to the 30, you couldn't get above it, So now you are currently pinned in between the 15-minute and the 30-minute 200 SMA. I would look for the 30-minute 200 SMA to crack here, going to the upside for VRA. That's going to be your guide going throughout the night, brother. That's going to be your guide as you go throughout the night, as you test this support once, twice. For the third time, the 21 curving up in the price action looks okay. I would track that throughout the night, brother. VRA looking okay. Looking for a reversal here out of the daily, but it really, really does. I want to say this as much for VRA because you're in the 900 to 1,000. But a lot of these things are going to follow Bitcoin. Bitcoin makes a minus 1% move. Every altcoin and its mother are going to take, a minus 3 to 4% move just based on where Bitcoin dominance is right now. I do really like where Bitcoin dominance is starting out this week. If we get this wick and we could get this turnaround to the downside in this channel, of the inverted coming out, that could be the beginning of all season. We don't know. And yeah, we've been on a tear for Bitcoin dominance, but it definitely could be the beginning of altcoin season. It's going to start eventually. It'll start eventually unless we get this break through the 786, but below 66% on Bitcoin dominance, I have to remain an altcoin bull, baby. I have to, out of this inverted coming handle to the downside for BTC dominance, which looks very, very good for the altcoins in the long term. We can see a drop off like we saw back here in 2021 of 50%, 50% to the downside through this gap in the VRVP, and we can see the altcoin season start like never before, and that would do real good for assets like VRA. Altcoins sitting in the 900 to 1,000 the 1,000 ranking area. Looks good for VRA for reversal to the upside, baby, to the upside. All right. April wants chills for Christoph. Chills, yeah, Christoph, what's going on, man? I appreciate you dropping that in the chat. I'm trying to get the comments to update. There's a lot of them, man. There's a lot of them, and I'm reading as I'm charting. All right. Chills, looking like every other altcoin in the game, gotten beat down severely, sitting beneath your bear market lows of 2023. Isn't that crazy for a lot of these projects, man? Just below their bear market lows. That is wild to see for Chills, baby. You had that monumental run up. Look at this week, this 2-week period for Chills, back in 2021 where you 21x your money in 7 days. Wow, what a time for Chills. That is absolutely crazy. So, zooming on in here, what do we see? Well, we got to mark some key important levels on the chart. Some levels that have served as support in the past that are now going to serve as resistance points on your way up, baby, on your way up. So, support, right? Support. all are going to be resistance on your way up for chills here. And that's just the reality where we stand right now. But on the daily, let's see if we can see any signs of hope, baby. Let's see if we can see any signs of hope. And hope would be getting this camera to work, this camera to reset, baby. Camera technical difficulties. Come on, baby. There we are. We're ready to go. We're ready to go. So yes, we do have a little bit of daily bullish divergence here forming on chills, baby, on, or is it chills? Chili's? Is this Chili's coin? So yeah, we have this swing across / swing up on price action. You are getting that bend here. You're oversold on the stochastics. Looks okay. This RSI needs to hold, though. The RSI curvature here needs to hold to the upside. You are getting a little bit of weakness. You did have a strong reaction here yesterday. So let's see if this could curve up to the upside, cross your signal line, and get that move to the upside on the RSI for chills. It looks okay. It looks okay, man. Chills looks for a reversal out of the daily bullish divergence. The daily bullish divergence, I will say this, just like every other altcoin, we had daily bullish divergence right here, and it did not work out. It does not always work out. Daily bullish divergence does not always work out, but it is a good indicator of a market trend that is weakening. This was bullish divergence that failed to the downside, and now you have a new set here, baby. You still have a new set until this low is taken out from March 10th back here. You are looking for a trend reversal here with the daily bullish divergence. I do stand by that. And here you are looking to break this 5-cent level before you come down and break that 3.5-cent level. Looks good for Chili's coin, for Christoph. I appreciate you keeping that on our radar, man. Stochastics are reset. RSI sitting below the 50 band. You have daily bullish divergence. I would keep these resistance zones on your map, man. I would. Why would I keep these resistance zones on your map? Because these areas have served as key support levels throughout the price history of the coin. Throughout the price history of the coin, all the way since back in August of 2023, you've bounced off these areas once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times, and then now resistance right here. You see how this turned into support? You had support, you fell beneath and retested as resistance. So this was a confirmed support resistance flip before dropping further to the downside. This support right here, you fell beneath it, retested it, you retested it twice further to the downside. So you do have resistance above you at about that, above that 5-cent region, man. That's something that I would keep intact. So this daily bullish divergence says this is a go, this is a go. The support resistance flip on the macro says this is a no, this is a no. So a scalp position here would not look like a bad idea, right? You could come up into that resistance very, very strongly and set your stop loss here beneath the wick here that formed yesterday. That is a little bit higher risk, right? Given the uncertainty in the market right now, but that would give you a pretty juicy 3-to-1 risk reward ratio trade, something I take any day of the week, man. That's what I'm looking at here for Chili's coin for Christoph. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you dropping that on into the chat. If we keep freezing, oh my gosh, no, okay, we're not frozen right now. Thank you, Nasty Kid. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. We went over VRA. We went over chills. We went over ETH. ETH will come up, or it's a dying giant. I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more. Let's reset this chat here and make sure that my YouTube baby is not failing on me. I think it may have something to do with me streaming on the channel and me watching my own stream at the same time from my phone. Maybe that has something to do with it. I'll have to play around with that. But yeah, man, that's what I'm looking at here. That's what I'm looking at. Yeah, we looked at ETH, VRA, Chili's, baby, Ethereum. I appreciate you liking me going on the meme coin rants, man. The meme coin rants. Yeah, we like it. We like it. Yeah, I love it. Kaito for Sin Nasty Kid. April wants to go over that we need. We don't have the price history that we need to look at Kaito right here fairly, right? Because over here on TradingView, we are below the area. We fell below the area where TradingView gives us, based on Binance's chart anyway, data on the perpetual contract. So let's look at Kaito. Yeah, this was Kaito's initial release here. This was Kaito's initial release here on Dex Screener. And you're coming back down from once you came. You're looking at a price discovery area to the downside for Kaito. Not something that you want to see. Not something that you want to see. So we will go back to TradingView here. We will go back to TradingView. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so here's what we're looking at for Kaito. What I am seeing is a little bit of bullish divergence on the 4-hour that you're hoping and praying is going to hold, man. So you got this swing down on price action. Well, you have this swing across on the RSI suggesting that you're going to crank this $1.02 level before you break this 78-cent level. That is kind of like a little bit of carnage for Kaito, man. Following Bitcoin in a way here. Kind of strange for a coin with lower market cap. Is Kaito up here? Kaito is in 171. Yeah, so this coin is likely going to follow BTC. Yeah, you don't even have a yearly chart here. That is wild how it ran up to $2.50. This is going to be one of the more volatile coins in the game, being beneath the top 100. But yeah, you do have that 4-hour bullish divergence. It does suggest you break this $1.02 level before you break the 78-cent level. Where would I be concerned? Around this 4-hour 200 MA. Why? Because when you come up to this 4-hour 200 MA, if you do get that pump to the upside, this bullish divergence does play out. You're running into this area of major high volumeness on the VRVP. You start gapping up here in the VRVP. You even got a little bit of resistance right above you, this high volume no cluster, but you start gapping up, man. The gap up for Kaito could be insanely massive, as we have seen here in the past. The squeezes on Kaito could be relatively nasty. Look at this 4-hour period, this 12-hour period where Kaito went on a 23% run. This one right here went from the swing low to the swing high, a 35% run. So these kind of moves are not out of the question here for Kaito to close these gaps very, very quickly upon a reversal for the broader crypto markets. Looks okay for Kaito with this bullish divergence here on the 4-hour. Look for the reversal, and I'd look for your 200 MAs to hold on the smaller time frames. You're above the 15-minute 200 MA more substantially. You even retested it, which is really, really good. Gives a little validity to that. You're above your 30-minute 200 SMA. I'd wait for this golden cross here, baby, the 21 cross in the 200 to the upside. That's what I would look at here for a move to the upside here on Kaito. I do see a little bit of bearish divergence here forming on the 30, but that's not something I would give validity to until you crack that 15-minute 200 MA to the downside, baby, to the downside. Woo! So yeah, swing down here on price action while you are on the RSI while you have the swing cross on price action. That's bearish divergence right there on the 30-minute time frame, rear end in your face. But I wouldn't give that too much validity until you crack this 15-minute 200 MA, which is sloping down. So you got a little bit of a range here that you could be considering for Kaito, baby, for Kaito. That's what I'm looking at, Sin Nasty Kid, for Kaito. Looking for that 4-hour bullish divergence to give you that pump to the upside, baby, to the upside to crack this $1.02 region. That's what I'm looking at, man. I appreciate you dropping that on into the chat. Moving on, everybody. Moving on to our next coin in the chat. We got Jupiter for April. Yeah, let's do it. Jupiter, baby, Jupiter. Jupiter is the leading decentralized exchange aggregator on Solana. Jupiter, if you don't swap on, if you trade coins on Solana, I don't care if you trade meme coins or anything. If you trade anything on the Solana chain and you don't exchange through Jupiter, you're doing yourself a disservice. It's incredibly cheap, and you qualify for the airdrop at the end of every year. This is kind of a shame, honestly. I think the team's really cool. I love their staking program, their active staking program on price discovery to the downside. A perfect example of how this can happen. So this is a good example of the broader market, right? Even though Jupiter has claimed this area as massive support, right? Coming down to massive support, and I saw it on X. Oh, every time Jupiter comes to this level, it bounces. Well, what happens the day that it doesn't? The day that Jupiter closed beneath this 67-cent level, you went on almost a 50% retrace from that level to the downside. You're on price discovery to the downside. You're beneath where you launched. That is carnage for the Jupiter ecosystem, and wow. That is, man. And this is one of my favorite projects in the games. Fundamentally, I love this project. I love what they do. I love the active staking. I think it's really neat. You get to vote on different proposals that they do, how they spend the money that they earn through Jupiter buybacks and everything. Super cool. But man, I think this project is really undervalued, and I'm not saying it's bullish right now by any sense of the word, but I just like the project in general. Definitely check that out when you guys can. Jupiter, it's a really cool thing. It's really cool on Solana. But with the distrust in Solana and where Solana sits right now, Jupiter is going to take the bending over the barrel and show them the 50 states like the rest of the Solana ecosystem is after they've launched Trump coin, Melania coin, Libra coin, all the scams that have lost Americans and people around the world many millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. The Yeezy coin looking to launch on Solana. Why? Because of the lack of regulation, and they could make an absolute stupid killing on a rug pull on people who are just trying to make a quick buck. That's just me, that's just me speculating, but it's happened time and time again. Where's the line in the sand? So I think this ecosystem has lost a lot of trust, and the charts convey that. The charts convey that. Not only on Jupiter, right? Jupiter was something that you needed to purchase Trump coin if you wanted to purchase Trump coin. Solana, let's see if Solana's getting the bounce. Solana is in a dangerous area. We cannot fall beneath this $1.08 level. You're sitting 3 cents above this. You didn't close the daily candle down here. You're on the line. You're on the line, baby. You're on the line. Look at this little node that held you up. But man, this is dangerous. This looks a lot like some of the hotter coins in the game that are playing with supports that should not be played with. Look at this giant gap in the VRVP. This is like when you're, your Captain Jack Sparrow on Pirates of the Caribbean 4, and they're going to take that mermaid to the Sacred Chalice so that the Blackbeard the Pirate can gain eternal life. But they need that mermaid, and then Jack Sparrow gets thrown off the ledge with his voodoo doll, and he goes, to the downside, baby. That's what Solana's looking like. This is Jack Sparrow backed up to the edge of that cliff, and that voodoo doll about to take the plunge to the downside, and Solana starts losing this support. It is gonna be a moment to the downside. Why? Because there's nothing to catch you, baby. This is a cliff. This is a cliff right here. You start losing these high, this looks exactly like XRP. You lose these high volume nodes, you will quickly close the gap to the next one. Down here at 59, look at this. Your next levels of support for Solana sit here. I would say this wick here. Whoop! I would say this wick. I will agree with this wick right here. Why? Because this is the bottom of the high volume node cluster. Gotcha, I'm tracking. And this serves support back here. You lose this, you're going to likely close the gap down to $59. Could anyone imagine that? $59 Solana after it was just sitting at $300 just 2-3 months ago? When was this? January? 3 months ago? Wild. Yeah. This could close the gap to the downside very, very fast. Much like XRP, much like HBAR, much like a lot of the other coins that have been overextended and are testing. They're teasing these key areas of support. And you could argue, hey, Solana's in a no man's land. Why? Because this area has served as support, come down support. And now, is this going to be the resistance test right here as we speak? As we speak, is this going to be the resistance test that allows us to reverse to the downside? Was this just a little bit of a dead cat bounce before you get a nukage to the downside? The RSI is reset on the daily. The RSI on the daily says we're ready to go. It looks okay, but I wouldn't be touching Solana here. It just doesn't go on my wrist, man. I would, if you took a long on Solana here, you are longing a support resistance flip on the macro. You're longing a previous support, you're longing right into that massive resistance in your face, baby. That is not what I'd like to see. That, oh, my camera! That is not what I would like to see for Solana here, baby. That is not what I'd like to see for Solana, but that is what I'm looking at. If you do not reclaim this $111, $112 region, get a little pump up to like 116, 117, 120s preferably, and retest that. Yeah, that could be a nukage point for the downside, baby. For the downside for Solana. April, that's what we got for Jupiter. Mirroring Solana looks very, very similar. That's what I'm looking at, everybody. That's what I am looking at here in the charts. We took a look at the fart coin. No, we didn't. Let's look at fart coin. Oh, no, we didn't. We looked at fart coin. What about the biggest loser on the day according to Bubbles? Where's the biggest loser? Hard to find a loser on today, is it not? Is it not? Wow. Let's look at Barachain. Barachain. I remember we were looking at Barachain and it was like $8. Oh my gosh, this week took it. Oh, wow! Barachain to the downside. I don't know what happened, if there was some kind of news or anything. I don't understand why this would take that kind of. Oh my. This got bent over the barrel and shown the 50 states. Shout out the horrible losses. Not a lot of price history, right? It got its release on Binance, Coinbase, I think a couple different chain. Binance, what was it? It was Binance. It was Bybit, Binance, I think BitMEX. Everybody released it at the same time, right? Got that absolute dumpage, right, on that release. Insiders, you got to love it, right? And here you were trading in this beautiful range. Trading in this range, you came up to resistance. It looked really good right here. We were flagging out on the smaller time frames and looking to go further to the upside. You fell to the bottom of the range and broke support. You didn't even come up and test this. You didn't even come up and test this line. You teetered on it a little bit. You bear flagged on the 2 hour to the downside, baby. Yeah, I would not look at Barachain right now just because the market's pumping. This is showing relative weakness. Yeah, does not look really good to me here for Barachain, baby. For Barachain, you would have to look at some kind of bullish divergence getting you to the upside. And you're getting a little bit on the 1 hour, but it doesn't look pretty, baby. It does not look pretty. You're kind of looking at like, I would look at it like this. I would look at this as like a bear flag to the downside. You could go further to the downside for Barachain. That's not something that you want to see coming down here to $2.35, and that could happen in just a couple hours based on the trajectory of where Berachain has been here. And it is shocking to see. This is one of the hotter coins in the game over the past couple of weeks, and in just the past, what is this? Since the beginning of the month, this past week, you're down. Let's look at the weekly candle. Wow, look at that weekly candle, the red, baby, the red. And I'm not saying that the altcoins aren't the red on the weekly, because they are. But Berachain taking a substantial 40% down draw on the weekly. Let's look at this here on the weekly. You don't see a lot of 40% in here on the, oh my goodness. You don't see a lot of 40% in here on the weekly. You see 10s, 20s, and some single digits. But where's Berachain here? Berachain may have fallen out of the top 100. It did. Sitting at 107 on the week, down 38.36%. I think that's the biggest loser. That is the biggest loser in the top 200. That looks awful here for Berachain. That could be the biggest loser, and yeah, almost the top 300. That's crazy. The top 200, Berachain, the biggest loser, not just in the top 100. That is crazy. So that's what I'm looking at here on the weekly. It just shows that those short-term trends can crack at any moment and at any time, baby, at any time. That's what I'm looking at here in the charts, baby, for Berachain, our biggest winner and our biggest loser. Let's dive on in. Let's dive on into the chat, man. Here, let's dive on in, resetting this here, making sure that the chat is up to date for each and every single one of you. Thank you guys for being here. All right, so we dived into Kaito. We dived into Jupe. Yeah, guys, I appreciate you guys being here. You want to look at Soros. Was that just a big bubble I saw? I thought I saw it. Soros. On the weekly. Yeah, it is. That 88% runner. Let's dive on into it, reviews. I appreciate you, man. Soros. All right, Soros. Let's see what we got here. On crypto.com. Oh, my goodness. Oh, yeah. Wow. That is that's something impressive, man. That is goodness gracious. You're stair-stepping up. When you get into something like this, it's important to know, it's super important to know that you're likely to bull flag out until you don't. And wow, that Giannis don't know what to say. Look at that drop. You're in high risk territory right now. You've already went up an explosive. What is this from? You're up a 15x in the past. Whoa! In the past month, or an 11x in the last month. If you're in this coin and you have your whole life savings in this coin / your investment, for the love of God, take out your initial investment, man. Oh, you're going to lose 10% and take all risk off the table. That is risk-free. Anyway, here we are. Let's zoom on in on the 4 hour. Let's see what we got here. So you kept bullpenning into the upside. Bullpenning. You got one right here. Bullpenning, upside. You're going to have people take profits on these. You will. And you'll buy orders layered down underneath you. This wick was insane. This will take out any leverage above 2x, would it not? Yeah, if you started chasing this is why we can't chase green candles, man, on leverage. Why? Because anybody above 3x got absolutely annihilated on Soros. With that being said, it is continuing on its trajectory to the upside. It's likely to continue to flag until it doesn't. And it's hard to call right here, especially after this capitulation wick to the downside. Do you have any? Look at this. You're oversold on the RSI. That is so interesting that you haven't even came up to the overbought area on the RSI despite this massive run up. That is crazy. Isn't this strange? You see a downtrend in the RSI? That's interesting to me. I don't think I've ever seen that before, where the RSI trends downward like this and you have a meteoric uptrend. You would expect this to be pinned in the overbought area. The stochastics are a little cooked. The 4 hour crossing to the downside. I would give this a little more price action, man. I would. I definitely wouldn't chase a long up here. Absolutely not. No. Even if you're looking at it on the 1 hour, if you got in just a couple days ago, there are people that have gotten in since this sub penny level or this penny level down here, and those people are going to take profits eventually, likely panic selling right here from those people who did get in at those levels, did get bought back up. I'd be interested to see what kind of news there is on this coin. Soros, baby. Soros. I'll take a look at this in my off time, man. I will take a look at this. That's interesting though. That's really interesting. It's on Solana. Interesting. Yeah, I'll take a look at it, man. I'll take a look at it. But yeah, on a monument, you cannot ignore it. Despite everything that's happened in crypto, there are still, this was cool about crypto. Despite everything that's happened in crypto, you're still going to find those 10, 20Xs. And look at this, in a month, that 11% run, that 11X run up for Soros looks good, man. It looks good. It may continue to the upside, but you're at a point right now, you're super overextended. I'd just be careful. I'd be careful, but it looks good. You can't say it looks good. It doesn't look good when you're on a 11X run up to the upside. Can you get a potential other squeeze? I would just be careful going long here, man. So you go long, you're risking another wick like this. You're risking a lot of those big capitulation events, which those big whales who are in on the inside, if they have insider trading, or not insider trading, but they have people on the inside that want to take profits. I don't know what their vesting schedule looks like. I don't know when the token unlocks are. But this is when they would be selling if they did get those, if they did get token unlocks. So I have to do a little more deep dive into that, man. I appreciate you dropping that on my radar. Got Soros written down there. All right, we went over Jupiter. We went over Soros. MH wants to go over Ondo. Let's dive on into Ondo. Soros a week ago. Hey, reviews, that would have been an insane buy. An insane buy. Big buy last week, and holy goodness, that is crazy for Soros. To the upside, man. Yeah, all right. Let's dive on into Ondo. Ondo, I think, is one of the hottest coins in the game, and I think this thing is going to do massive damage when the bull run continues. Ondo looks, I'm not going to lie to you guys, despite it being one of my favorite coins in the game, does not look good. Does not look good. We do have, whew. You know what I just realized, everybody? You know what I just realized? I had my RSI scale inverted. I had it inverted. That's why the last coin we looked at was not overbought. I had it inverted when we flipped the dominance upside down. I've been looking at RSI that's been flip-flop the entire time. My apologies, you guys. I just noticed that. I was like, what in the world? Why are these numbers flipped? All right, here we go. Here we go, everybody. Here we go. All right. On the Ondo, we do have a swing down on price action. While we have this swing up on the RSI, much like a lot of the other coins in the game, we did have this right here, and that fell to the downside. With that being said, this is still daily bullish divergence, creating a higher low on the daily RSI indicator while you're making a lower low on price action, suggesting that you're going to crack this 95-cent level before you crack this 67-cent level. Never thought I'd see Ondo at 67 cents again. It's backed by Larry Fink and BlackRock. This is one of the hottest coins in the game. World Liberty Financial owns it. I think this thing could do major damage if we are going to bring real world tokenization on chain. I think it's going to be massive. This could also be a big player with bringing political figures, stocks, and crypto holdings on chain as well for everybody to see. So that gets rid of insider trading and allows people to get caught insider trading, essentially. So that would be really, really huge here. That would be really, really huge here for Ondo, and it has the technology to do it, and has the backing by some of the biggest asset managers in the game. 11 trillion managed, I believe, by Larry Fink. That's crazy to me. It's crazy to see what we are seeing down here for Ondo. With that being said, it looks like the rest of the altcoins, absolute carnage from the all-time high runs back here at December of 2024. I think these are great prices for Ondo. I really do. I have to say that. But the charts are saying that you need a bounce here at that 886, and you even wicked beneath it. Bitcoin dominance is going to have to roll over for Ondo to reclaim the throne, man. It really will. All right. Diving on in, baby. What's a whale? What is a whale? Whale. It's a nasty kid. Yeah, hey, man. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. A whale. Let's dive on in. A whale, dude. It's this creature in the ocean. And they swim around like this. And they usually have like these big blowholes on the top. And they breach. You can find those in the ocean. I think you can find them in all of them, man. You can find them in the Atlantic, the Pacific. No, I'm just playing, man. I'm just playing. So, yeah. Hey, a whale in cryptocurrency is referring to someone who owns, in Bitcoin's definition, I believe it's 1,000 Bitcoin. I think it's 1,000 Bitcoin. Whoop. Yeah. In cryptocurrency, a Bitcoin whale refers to an individual or entity holding a large amount of Bitcoin, typically 1,000 Bitcoin or more. Those are whales, right? And whale transactions often get tracked on chain through Whale Tracker on X. It's a really cool thing that you could follow along with on X. So you can see these big whales moving large amounts of Bitcoins from their wallets to exchanges and from exchanges to their wallets. That's how they measure inflows and outflows of ETFs. BlackRock is a whale. Michael Saylor is a whale. They hold over 1,000 Bitcoin, substantially more than 1,000 Bitcoin. The United States government is a whale. Like, though, when I say the term whale in reference to an asset or anything, it refers to the people who hold a large percentage of the supply, relatively speaking, a large percentage of the supply of that asset. So in Bitcoin terms, it's 1,000 Bitcoin or more, which was, I think, a billion. A thousand. What's 1,000? My math. Who knows the math, man? Of 1,000 times 80,000. 1,000 times 80,000. That's 8. Isn't that 80 billion? No, that's 8 billion, is it not? I gotta pull out my calculator right here. Can't do that mental math. So you guys will say $80,000 Bitcoin times 1,000. So a whale has $80 million in Bitcoin. That's a Bitcoin whale, baby. 80 million bucks in Bitcoin, or 1,000 Bitcoin. That's what a whale is, Nasty Kid. Thanks for the question, man. I appreciate you. I use that term a lot. All right, yeah, fish nowadays, man. Yeah, so there's different terms in crypto. You got whale, and then you got a shark, and then you got a fish, and then you got a crab, and then you got some plankton. It refers to different amounts of Bitcoin that you own. So when someone's like, I just became a shark, it means they just achieved that 100 Bitcoin level. Or a crab, they just achieved 1 Bitcoin. It's just an animal term in reference to what you are comparatively to how much Bitcoin you own. Or, you know, it goes even further than that. Below that, like below, I think a plankton is like 0.1, and there's something for 0.25. Like there's different animals that correspond to how much Bitcoin you own. That's a whale, man. That's a whale. Hey, I appreciate the question, brother. I appreciate the question. And they manipulate price action, brother. Reviews, yeah. So when you talk about price manipulations, what happens and what these whales will do. These whales at 1,000 Bitcoin, what are they trying to do? Well, they're trying to get 1,001 or 1,010, right? So how do they do it? How do they do it? Well, how do they do it back here? The whales executed enough sells here. The whales executed enough sells to make it look like the shoulder, head, right shoulder was going to dump to the downside, and it did. You execute enough sells, what happens? It starts causing liquidations and stop losses to hit in the markets, and they'll have their limit buys down here. That's how they can get this Bitcoin on the cheap, on the reversal to the upside, so they can easily manipulate the market by selling. This is what Binance says they don't do it, but through Wintermute, they definitely do. The exchange that allows Binance to be able to buy and sell, their reserve assets, which I think is super sketch, but they manipulate the market all the time. And whales have the ability to do that just because of the amount of supply that they have to start forcing liquidations. You force liquidations, it runs it into their limit orders, and then boom, instead of 1,000 Bitcoin, they have 1,001. Bitcoin returns to the original price, and the whales get bigger, right? The whales get bigger. I think there's even like a humpback. I think a humpback's like 10,000 Bitcoin, a 10,000 Bitcoin or something like that. That's crazy. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man, when I refer to whales. Yeah, manipulations, reviews. I totally agree with you, man. I totally agree with you. Let's reset this chat here. Let's refresh it, baby. Got to refresh the chat to the upside, baby. To the upside. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys for being here with me on your Monday night. Hey, guys, do me a huge favor. Do me a huge favor and smash that like button while you get a chance. I appreciate it. It does do me a huge favor. It does me a huge favor in getting this stream out to more people, so more people can see your coins and more coins can get pumped to the upside, baby. That's what we're here for, to make money, right? To make money. And looking at the markets right now, it has been a very, very difficult environment. And I want as many people to be well educated on this market as possible, as we go through this together, This is a tough time here in the market. And even so, let's see Bitcoin here. Bitcoin just getting above the 15-minute 200 SMA and consolidating. Let's see if this could lead to a further pump to the upside. This gets to the upside. You break the 15-minute 200 MA due to the severity of the dump. These are still spaced out these are still spaced out pretty handsomely on these smaller time frames. So you could get a squeeze back up, and by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, We could be seeing an $82,000 Bitcoin, and all of this will have just been a blip in the radar, and those whales will have accumulated a couple more Bitcoin, and the public will be left with a smaller bag. Isn't that crazy how panic selling works in the crypto markets? Have a plan, everybody. We gotta have a plan, and a plan for me is to fix my camera as we go throughout this week. Oh my goodness, I don't know what's going on with my camera. Something must have dropped it. The cat might have knocked it over. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at. You need to have a plan. A failure to plan is a plan to fail. Failure to plan is a plan to fail. When are you selling your Bitcoin? Are you selling your Bitcoin? If you're not, you say, hey, I'm not going to sell my Bitcoin. Are you going to fear? And we have a massive dumpage to 50K, and then are you going to sell your Bitcoin? Do you need your crypto in order to make it? Do you need your are you relying on this money to make it, or to pay your mortgage, to pay for your kid's school, or pay for the amount of gold that your lady requires every month before she kicks you out on the street? What are there? Do you rely on that money in order to get by? If you do, I highly recommend looking at your investments, looking at the market, and saying, hey, this is how much I need to get by, and take it out of the market, man. Nobody should be investing what they cannot lose. If I lost my entire portfolio, would that suck? If Bitcoin went to zero, would it suck? Yes. Yes, it would. Would I cry? Yes, I would. Would I be sad? Yes, I would. But would it be the end all be all? No, because it is not the only asset that I own, right? It is super important to be well diversified. There's a lot of people out here that put all their eggs in one basket, and though that could lead to monumental gains, it could also lead to monumental losses. Just something that you want to keep in mind. And the majority of my net worth is in Bitcoin. I'm going to put that out there. Majority of this, I'm a ride or die with this shit, baby. I'm a ride or die with this shit. This is the opportunity that I see. I think we're so early in this space. I don't think it matters whether you get in at 79 or 50 or 100 or 120. I don't think that matters. I think we're going to be seeing a $1 to $10 million Bitcoin in the next 5 to 10 years. I think that supply shock's going to come and hit like a truck, baby. And I think that I want to be well positioned for when it does. And it's coming, man. This asset is so new. I think it's less than 4% of Americans own crypto. Yeah, it's new. And let the tax-free crypto stuff come. Oh, baby. We'll see how much money's left in the stock market when everybody starts flooding into the crypto market. But yeah, I see this as the money of the future. It protects us from countless money printing by any government, not even the United States government, the Canadian government. Everybody does it. And we see what happens. Argentina, Venezuela, countries that have printed their money to absolute zero. You have $1 trillion bills out there. If that happened overnight in this country, everybody would be wrecked. $1 trillion bill? I don't have $1 trillion, but I'm not going to hold $1 trillion bill and pretend like I'm rich. Like, that's ridiculous. You're not rich if you have $1 trillion bill. If there's 10 billions and quadrillions and trillions of dollars out there. So Bitcoin protects you from that. Why? Because going on over here to CoinMarketCap, this number right here will never change. That 21 million Bitcoin, the max supply, will never, ever in your life change. It's impossible. It's in the code. It will never change. A lot of Bitcoin will never be found. This is a truly scarce asset. We can't go to an asteroid and mine more Bitcoin, but we can for gold. So, it opens up the door to a lot of speculation, but I see this as being the true scarce asset on this planet. We can't get any more, and I have my piece of the pie. And when everybody's wanting that piece of the pie, I'm going to hold my piece of the pie like this. Nobody's having my piece of the pie. No one's going to have that piece of the pie at 50,000 or 20,000. No one's having my pie. It's my pie, right? It's like when it's like my lady's mother, she makes cookies, and everybody wants the cookies, right? And my lady, she hogs them all to herself. She doesn't let me have a cookie because I didn't buy her enough gold that month. And, I really, really want a cookie. And, then she's like, she baits me in the cookie. Okay, what are you willing to do for the cookie? And then she makes me pull up Monet and go through she makes me sort by the, $1,000 plus category. It's a whole thing. So, yeah, you have to understand that later on when everybody's trying to get a piece of the pie, that right now, as I see it being very undervalued, I have to get as much Bitcoin now as I can, because I feel like even though we're struggling in the price action right now, in the macro, I think we're running out of time. I think everyone is running out of time to accumulate this asset under $100,000. Anything under $100,000 is going to be cheap. I'll say that to anybody any day. If you want to get some Bitcoin, are we under $100,000? Yes, then it's a good time to buy. In my mind, that's the way I see it. Are they going to be micro? Like, yeah, okay, there's little times that are better than others, yeah. But I think once this asset cracks 100K again, are we going to see it again? Say we get back up here, we retest this volume notice support, and we go and crack this high. Then everybody's going to switch their thesis or their statement. They're going to be like, man, I wish I got a Bitcoin under 100K. And we're staring at it in the face at 79.7 right now. So that's just my little Bitcoin rant of the day. This is still a relatively cheap, I think it's a cheap asset compared to the value that it brings to the world, to humanity. So that's what I'm looking at here, baby. That's what I am looking at. All right, diving on into the chat. Uncle Powell do a rate cut? Hey, that is the crypto question. Will Uncle Powell do a rate cut? You know, the Fed, the market's pricing in 5 rate cuts this year to deal with the tariffs, and it needs to happen. We don't get, it's a sad world that we live in where we depend on the Federal Reserve, a private entity, to say that we could print more money to oblivion, right, based off of absolutely nothing in order to keep our markets pumping and getting the rich richer. It's absolutely crazy that we rely on that. But it's the reality we live in. We do need the Federal Reserve to step in and save us. Save us, Papa Powell, save us. That's what everyone's saying. And if we don't get that, the minute that the Fed stops printing money for us for the economy to collapse, because that's what will happen when the Fed stops printing money. The economy will collapse more than it ever has before in history. Why? Because they're so overextended. Look at the NQ. Look at the NQ. I want to zoom out on the NQ. We didn't even look at the stock market today. Isn't that crazy? Look at this. This is carnage in the market. For those of you who think that this is a pullback, this isn't. This isn't a pull. This was a crash. And yeah, we got a little bit of a bounce on the daily, though. You're looking at a couple 4-hour candles. This could be just the beginning. This could be just the beginning. We fell beneath the daily 200 SMA. Everybody who watches this channel knows that if you fall beneath the daily 200 SMA, boys, crypto is a bear, baby. I'm a bear. I don't even know how to make barriers, baby. But yeah. Boys, crypto has to be a bear. I have to be a bear beneath the daily 200 SMA. We're approaching the weekly. Look at this line. This represents price history since back in June of 99. Look at this chart. Does this look like it's going to continue to the upside? Sure, it does. But what if it doesn't? What if this parabola cracks? And it will. I don't know if it's going to be this time. Maybe we get another monumental move up and we trade at 34,000. We just keep pumping money into the market. But eventually, this parabola pops, baby, because eventually this, parabolic support line is going to look like that. Is that sustainable for markets? Heck no. No, we'll be trading at a $100,000 NASDAQ and everybody's going to be like, oh my gosh, I make 1% a day on the NASDAQ. Does this look like natural? Is this going to happen? No. Even if it does, you're going to get to a point like that and then it's going to boom. You're going to have this will be the biggest economic downturn of the century, possibly in human history, for America and for the global market. And it's a shame to say it's all because of countless money printing by governments that decided to debase our dollar off of anything. So that's just crazy. And that's the danger of a central bank digital currency as well. You can just, instead of printing it, you just hit a button and you make that digital number bigger. Oh, that would be the downfall. That would be the downfall. But yeah, that's speculating right there. That's a NASDAQ on the daily, man. On the daily. Falling beneath the daily 200, getting that death cross here. That looks horrible for the NASDAQ. Last time we had something similar was back here in the 2022 bear market where stocks retraced about 37%. That was wild. And you know what? That's a walk in the park. Comparatively, in just a couple weeks, we fell about 26%. That is a massive dip. Currently, from the highs, we're down about 20%. That's a correction in the stock market. I mean, you crack this low. We have to acknowledge, look at here. When you crack that low, you have to speculate on a lower high, lower high, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. You crack this low. So we made a higher high. Now we made a lower low. So now, do we make a lower high? Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. We have to keep that. We have to keep that on our radar. And Bitcoin has been trading in tandem with the S&P. Let's look at the S&P and the Nasdaq on the 5-minute. Let's look at it on the 5-minute. We'll pull this up on the 5-minute. Look at this. I'll go back and forth between the charts to show everybody. Does this not look exactly the same? Exactly. You can see the wick. Look at the wicks. Exactly the same. So Bitcoin's trading in tandem with the NASDAQ. That's why we need to keep that on our radar. A more macro stock market, collapsing event can collapse Bitcoin too. We have to keep that, and altcoins. We have to keep that on our radar. We have to keep that on our radar. As Bitcoin struggles the last hour, we have been struggling here. To the downside. That does not look good. That does not look good. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at here on the macro, baby. Bitcoin looking okay. The NQ struggling. We will see. We will see. That downfall will be the next great reset. It's possible, It's a nice guy. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. Reviews. Yeah, what a world. The world crypto question right now. Reviews. I totally agree. April said the cookies will be April's. Oh yeah. The downfall will be the great reset. Reviews. I couldn't agree with you more, man. I couldn't agree with you more. I think the next time we do have a massive drop in. Once the NASDAQ pops, and I'm not saying it's now, once the NASDAQ pops, that could be the end all be all for stocks and crypto for a couple of years. Let's look back here. Look at 2000. Let's look at the NQ back here in 2001. This is important to remember. Back here in 2001, we had one of the biggest run-ups of all time. The biggest run of all time in 2000. Oh my gosh, everybody was FOMO crazy. You had this cataclysmic collapse. How long did it take you to recover from that? And this is why I advise people to manage their money. Because if we're right here, and we're leading into a collapse, it took 17 years for the stock market to recover from the dot-com bubble. It took 17 years for the stock market to crack the high of the dot-com bubble. This is why I keep retirement on everybody's radar. If you're looking to retire in the next 20 years, you need to have a plan with your money, because an event like this would wipe out your ability to retire flat out cold. It's the truth. It's the reality. People back here in 2001 thinking that they could retire off their 401ks, they retire, and then they have an event like this without any money planning, and they have their money in the S&P and the NASDAQ where they thought would be to stay safe throughout history, got wiped. That would have represented a 78% drop in your retirement, and you got to go back to work. But where can you find work on a stock market collapse? I don't say that for fear. I say that for reality. You have to have a plan, even when it comes to retirement, when managing that money. You have to acknowledge where your retirement accounts are. And I know a lot of people don't look at them. I don't look at mine, baby. I hardly look at mine, but I'm not at that point yet. I contribute to it, but I don't look at mine. But this is what can happen when that cookie crumbles, baby. That kind of bear market, that prolonged bear market, 17 years. And it's been a long time on this monumental run up to the upside. Money printing's been supporting us the entire way since this. Back here, we've been printing money nonstop. If the Fed decides to stop, reviews, I couldn't agree with you more, brother. I could not agree with you more. If the Fed does decide to stop printing money, we could be looking at an event like 2001. We can be looking at an event like 2001. It is very important to keep that on our radar. This weekly 200 MA is a key level. We've been above the weekly 200 MA since the 2008 financial crisis collapse. Support, we fell beneath in the last bear market, since got right back above off that weekly bullish divergence there, and now we're coming down to potentially test that level again. That red line is your key in the sand, is your line in the sand, baby, is your line in the sand. I would watch that. I would watch it, everybody. I just want to put that warning out there so everybody's alert and nobody's caught off guard. That we could be looking at the beginning of one of the biggest downfalls in history for a stock market. And with these trade wars, we need some good news, and we need it fast. If we don't get it, we are likely going to get further downside, right? So we'll have to see how this evolves throughout the week. Thursday, Friday, going to be the biggest days with the initial jobless claims and the CPI and PPI coming out on Thursday and Friday, respectively. Big news events that are going to be market drivers, that are going to be the first news events that take into account all the tariffs that have been put in place since January. So that's going to be really interesting, and I'm excited to go over that data with you. I'll be bringing it to you every single night this week, live, baby, live. I will be bringing it to you live. Thank you, each and every single one of you guys. If there's any chats, past reviews, I am the last thing I see is the downfall will be the great reset. Oh my gosh, I may have to get a different kind of way to monitor the chat here. Let's dive on in one more time. Yeah, That's what I'm looking at. Hey, Michaela, thank you. Hey, have a good night. I'm updated on chats. Thank you, everybody, for joining me here today on the Boys Crypto Show. You guys are absolutely awesome. Thank you for each and every single one of you for driving this channel to the upside, baby. Currently cranking on 1,300 subscribers. I appreciate you guys and everything that you guys are doing for the channel. For everybody who's dropping coins in the chat, you guys drive this stream. I want to personally thank each and every single one of you. The people who put coins in the chat, I'd say April, Sin Nasty Kid Reviews, there's all sorts of you guys. Yeah, today I think that was mainly it. Wanda, I appreciate you. MH, thank you guys. Thank you everybody for jumping on in the chat. Each and every one of you guys are absolutely amazing. If I missed anybody, Christoph, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Dropping in with Chili's. I appreciate you guys driving this stream tonight. You guys keep the show moving and on the way. I appreciate each and every one of you for diving on in today. I will see you guys tomorrow. Much love. Enjoy your night. Keep an eye on those 200 MAs, baby. Until next time, Boys Crypto is out. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your night. Much love.